Okay, so today we're going to be looking at making the base element to our mood light. All right. Now the material that is made out of is acrylic. All right, and as you can see on the table here, acrylic can come in many different colours. Now I'm going to ask your teacher to just pause this video. I'm going to leave you with a question. Is acrylic a thermoforming plastic or a thermosetting plastic? Now you would have discovered that the answer is a thermoforming plastic. And the main reason for that is because acrylic is a type of plastic that we can heat up, we can mould it, we can then heat it up again, and we can remould it. So we can keep doing that over and over again. Now in order to get the curves on our plastic, on our acrylic, we need to use a machine called the line bender, or other known as a strip heater. Okay, and that's the machine that is in the background at the minute. So just to briefly explain the machine itself. So the strip heater, as it says in the name, pretty much has a line of heat. It has a strip of heat which runs along this section here. So my hand at the minute, I can feel quite a bit of heat coming off of that. And to the side down here, I've got an on and off switch, and then I can also change the intensity of the heat. Okay, so our first task when we get our piece of acrylic, you'll notice there are two sides. One of the sides, it has been laser cut on. We've got these two reference lines, and these are our lines that we're going to use to actually bend our acrylic. They're going to be our reference lines. However, on the back side, what we first of all need to do is there's got it's kind of like a protective sealant, all right, and we need to peel that off. All right. Now, what I'm going to ask your teacher to do again is pause the video and just discuss, if I was to leave that on and put it over the line bender, why is that a negative? Why should I have not do that? Camera, if I hold it up, you can see these two reference lines. Okay. What I'm going to do with those is I'm going to take my piece of acrylic and I'm going to have those lines facing upwards so that I can see those. And I'm going to hold them over the strip heater, all right? And I'm going to line them up with where the heat is running along. After a while, you might start to hear your plastic crackle, all right? And that's the acrylic. That's a good sign to show that the acrylic is heating up and starting to melt. And what I can do every so often is take my acrylic out and just start to feel it with my hand, being careful not to touch that bit because it's going to be very hot, but I can just sort of start to bend it, and I can already see some flexibility there. So after I've used the strip heater, I'm going to come over and use what's called a jig. Now, if your teacher pauses the video, you guys can have a discussion as to what a jig might be used for in this process. Of the jig being used as kind of a template, as a guide as such for when we are creating our bend in our acrylic. Okay, and the reason we do that is to quality control check it, to make sure that it is kept consistent. All right, because we can see that that's been created at a 90-degree angle. So again, I'm just going to put my acrylic back in the machine just to give it some extra heat. All right, and when it starts to crackle, that's a good indication of it being melted enough, and we'll have enough flexibility. Okay, so I'm starting to hear it crackle. All right, so I'm going to take it off of the heat and I'm going to push it against my jig like so, and I'm going to push it right into the corner of my jig like that. All right, okay, making sure that it's nice and secure and solid into that 90-degree angle, if you can see from the side view there. Right, so I've been holding this here now for about a minute, and you'll notice that if I start to slowly just take away the acrylic, it's holding its position, all right, meaning that the plastic, the acrylic, has cooled back down and it's going to solidify back into that shape. If I took it away and it started bending back to its original shape, it means that I haven't held it against my jig long enough, and I just need to keep holding it there for a longer period of time until it starts to set in its shape. All right, and if I hold the acrylic up to the camera closely, you'll notice that I have bent my acrylic with the lines on the inside. So as I said earlier on in the video, we want to make sure that our lines are always facing us, because on the finished product we don't want to see the lines up top. All right, we want those hidden inside. They're great to use as a reference, but then visually, aesthetically, we don't want those to be shown at the end, on the end product. All right, so it's time to go back to our strip heater or line bender, and I'm going to remember, I want to have my lines facing upwards, and I'm going to put my acrylic back in and line that up with where the strip of heat is coming out from. All right. Okay, so I've been holding that there now for about 40 seconds to a minute now. All right. And if I just take it away, go back to my jig. All right. Bend that down. Make sure I push that nice and securely against my jig. All right. Hold that in place, keeping that straight. All right, and I'm just going to keep that there for about a minute or so as I let that dry. I'll just bring it up to the camera to show you guys what's going on there. All right, perfect. So I've been holding this against my jig for about a minute now, and if I take it away, I'll notice that my acrylic is not going back to its original shape, and there we are. I've been able to line bend both sides of my acrylic. All right, and then if I pop that on the table, okay. That's therefore going to be the base of my mood light. Okay, so when I'm done, I want to make sure that I turn the heat all the way down to off, turn it off at the mains, and then I'm also going to unplug it from the mains there as well to ensure that there is no extra heat being produced from the machine. All right. So that is a very quick tutorial on how we use the line bender here at school. Now I'm going to leave you with one more question. Can we think of ways that acrylic and a line bender might be used in industry? What other products in this world can we think of might have used this process in order to be made?